It was a little past midnight when chaos quietly slipped into Seoul National University Hospital. A black van with heavily tinted windows screeched to a stop at the emergency entrance, and within seconds, security staff rushed forward. Nurses scrambled for stretchers, and whispers traveled like electricity through the air. It's him. It's really Hunbin. The actor, known for his stoic charm and overwhelming professionalism, was carried out unconscious, his skin pale, his breathing shallow, and his body limp as if every last drop of strength had been drained from him. Even the medical staff, trained to face emergencies daily, momentarily froze, stunned at the sight of one of Korea's most beloved stars in such a frightening condition. Moments later, another car arrived, and this time it was Ye-jin. She reportedly leapt out before the vehicle fully stopped, still in a hoodie and slippers, looking as if she had sprinted straight from home the instant she received the call. Witnesses described her eyes as wide and terrified, her hands trembling uncontrollably as she nearly stumbled while rushing through the sliding doors. "Where is he? Is he breathing? Please tell me he's okay," she cried, her voice echoing through the sterile hallway. The normally calm emergency department instantly became suffocating with tension, as even those who did not recognize her could sense the weight of her fear. Ye-jin was seen clasping Hunbin's cold hand, whispering nervously, "Stay with me. Please stay with me. Don't scare me like this," as nurses worked rapidly to hook him to oxygen, check his vitals, and run swift preliminary screenings. Rumors spread through the hospital like wildfire. Some whispered about a cardiac incident. Others feared a stroke or a dangerous infection. The uncertainty was terrifying because no one, not even the doctors, could immediately determine the cause of his collapse. Meanwhile, Ye-jin paced back and forth, her breathing shaky, her eyes red and swollen from crying. At one point, she crouched against the wall, burying her face in her palms, unable to steady her emotions. According to a close friend, she kept blaming herself, saying she should have noticed earlier. She thought he was just tired. She never imagined it was this bad. Outside, news of the emergency had leaked, causing late-night reporters to rush toward the hospital. Fans stayed awake online, panicking, refreshing updates, and flooding social media with desperate messages like, "What happened to him?" and "Please be okay." Hours slipped by painfully slowly. Hospital staff continued running test after test, their expressions unreadable, their voices low as they discussed possibilities. When the lead physician finally called Ye-jin into a consultation room, witnesses said she looked as though she might collapse from fear. Her steps were unsteady, her voice barely audible, her breathing shallow. Inside that room, she braced herself for the worst, a terrible diagnosis, a life-threatening illness, something that would shatter everything. But as the doctor began explaining the results, her tears fell once again, this time from overwhelming relief. Hunbin was not suffering from an incurable or fatal disease. Instead, his body had simply reached a breaking point. The tests revealed severe physical exhaustion, dangerously high stress levels, electrolyte imbalance, and symptoms consistent with prolonged overwork. For weeks, possibly months, Hunbin had pushed himself beyond his limits. Filming schedules, intense physical training, traveling between countries for events, commercials, promotional shoots, script meetings, interviews, and constant pressure to perform had slowly drained his health. He had ignored signs of fatigue, brushed off dizziness, and insisted he was fine even when his body was silently begging him to stop. His system shut down to protect itself, the doctor told her. Had he pushed even a little further, the outcome could have been far more serious. Ye-jin covered her mouth with her hands, tears pouring down her face as she whispered, "Thank God, thank you so much," over and over again. When she returned to Hunbin's bedside, he was still unconscious but stable. The oxygen mask remained, but his breathing was steady, no longer struggling. Ye-jin sat next to him, gently brushing his hair aside, holding his hand firmly, as if anchoring him back to safety. Nurses noted how she leaned close and whispered softly, telling him how terrified she had been, how he needed to stop pretending he was fine, how she needed him to rest, truly rest, for the first time in a long time. By dawn, news outlets confirmed that Hunbin was out of immediate danger, though he required several days of monitoring and absolute rest. Industry insiders later revealed that his workload in recent months has been inhuman. A colleague admitted, "He's the kind who never complains. He keeps going even when he shouldn't. The more he's tired, the more he forces himself to work harder. We all worried, but he always said he was okay. None of us realized he was this close to collapsing." Online, fans expressed both relief and heartbreak, calling the situation a wake-up call for everyone involved in the entertainment industry. The pressure placed on top actors, the relentless schedules, and the unspoken expectation to endure everything silently, it all came into sharp focus. Meanwhile, photos of Song Ye-jin leaving the hospital early in the morning, makeup-less and exhausted, quickly circulated. She didn't stop for interviews, simply whispering, "He just needs rest, that's all that matters," before disappearing into the car. Her devotion, fear, and raw emotion touched millions worldwide. In the end, what began as a terrifying midnight emergency, one that shook the entertainment world and left Song Ye-jin in tears, turned out to be a brutal but necessary reminder that even icons have limits. Hunbin had not collapsed due to a hidden disease or a mysterious medical condition. The following days inside the hospital unfolded like a silent emotional war, one that only those closest to Hunbin truly witnessed. Though the medical team assured that his vitals were improving and his condition had stabilized, the aftermath of the collapse had weighed heavily on everyone around him, especially Song Ye-jin. She refused to leave his side unless instructed, staying through long, sleepless nights, as if she was afraid that if she blinked for too long, something might happen again. Nurses passing by would often find her sitting quietly in the dim light of the room, her fingers lightly interlaced with his, her eyes swollen from crying, but fixed on him with unwavering determination. It wasn't the glamorous image the public usually saw. It was raw, human, fragile. One nurse later shared privately, "She looked more exhausted than him, but she never complained, not once." The staff gently insisted she rest, but Ye-jin always replied with the same tearful whisper, "I'll rest when he wakes up." On the second day, Hunbin finally regained consciousness. His eyes fluttered open slowly, as if pulling himself back from a deep, heavy darkness. The moment Ye-jin saw him stir, she froze, her breath catching in her throat. "Bina, can you hear me?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Hunbin blinked weakly, his expression confused and tired. When he finally recognized her face, something inside him seemed to crack. Guilt, worry, and disbelief all at once. He tried to speak, but his voice was too faint, his body too weak. Ye-jin held onto his hand with both of hers, tears spilling out again as she leaned her head against his. Witnesses described the scene as something that could break even the coldest heart. And yet, Hunbin's first instinct, even in his fragile state, was to apologize. "I'm sorry," he mouthed, struggling to speak properly. Ye-jin shook her head firmly and squeezed his hand,